Start the recording. So welcome everyone to our CHAOSS App Ecosystem Working Group on July 27, 2020. So I know we have two new faces. I think we connected the last week at the GoADeck conference where Shri and I gave a presentation about the work we're doing here. So I'm super excited that you found your way over to our meeting.
Thank you. And thanks for that presentation. It was very informative and quite inspiring, actually. I guess that's why we are here today.
Yes. So there are different things that we can do. We have this call, we have this time schedule blocked out, and we can do whatever we want with it. One option is we can continue working where we left off 2 weeks ago, defining metrics and data sources. My concern with that is we are missing several of the people who have been working on the first iteration. So talking through that might prove challenging. Another option is we can talk about whatever's on your mind and any ideas you had after the talk. And Neo joined us. Hey, Neo.
Good. Hi. Hi, sorry for running a bit late.
Yeah. So from the presentation last week, you have a pretty good overview of everything that we did. I can just share my screen, talk about it a little bit more, or we can do something else. I'm totally open to suggestions.
Yeah, so my main idea of attending this meeting is to try to figure out a way to help Drupal.org, which is the main interaction point for the creation of Drupal and related software, which is a PHP CMS, to get more in line with more the things that has been happening on this project, on the CHAOSS project. So I'm not sure where to start. So maybe what I would really like is to so maybe share a bit on how what we are trying on Drupal.org as a way to check on the health of the community and how we can maybe move that into something that this project is doing. So I'm not sure where to start really.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what work you're doing on Drupal.org and what goals you have for the future.
Yeah, so maybe a bit of a recap. I guess that can take less than 5 minutes. So if that is okay, I can talk a bit about it.
Yes.
Yeah, great. So on Drupal.org, we have been trying to track a bit how things are happening on the community. We naturally have the commits, but some years ago we implemented, well, the association mainly has implemented a way to do a general more a credit system. So it is, instead of just relying on the code base, we are mainly tracking the contributions via the ISO tracker. So even if someone is not actually giving a patch, but it's maybe helping on the design or helping on something else. For instance, even for event organizers, I think they create one ticket so it can be attributed as credits, and that's but it is still a custom system that we have built inside in the ISO tracker to be able to track that, and that is how we are trying to track a bit more the how things are happening on the community, and even we have a way to attribute a company that you are working on working for, or to that credit system. So and even a client. So you can be a volunteer, you can be um, one employee of a company, but you can also be just a volunteer that has a client, and you can acknowledge that client if that client has an account on Drupal. But as you can see, it's pretty specific to the site that we are using as the main hub for contributions. So I'm wondering what would be a way to expand this, or maybe generalize this, to be able to take advantage of this general initiative for here. So I'm really open for suggestions.
If I may add just a tiny bit more context.
Yes, of course.
Please.
The Drupal project started out with like it's a decade-long decision to centralize everything, the code distribution and packaging and everything under Drupal.org. So you won't find any Drupal module in, let's say, GitHub or anything like that. So that's really helpful in like when you are wanting to collect metrics, because you can implement these systems because everyone works off there. So that's one advantage that we have there. Another disadvantage is that there are so many contributors in the project that there is quite a lot of hierarchy, bureaucracy, and a little bit of red tape to get to the decision making, right? And that is, what I foresee the biggest problem in getting to implement this new framework that you are all working on into Drupal, or at least like converge into something similar. And so that's my extra context that I was seeing. And then I wanted to highlight my biggest interest, and that is my biggest interest is to something that I think that you, Georg, said, having metrics or having decisions derived from metrics that are important for certain stakeholders. So I guess that first iteration would be to identify who are our stakeholders, and so like getting all that sorted out to make useful decisions. That's what my drive is for this.
Yeah, thank you for that background information. I'm facilitating this meeting, so I don't need to be talking. Sean and Neo, if you want to jump in, please do.
No, I'm just trying to get the idea of our conversation today. I guess you had the talk at the Guatec, and the guys saw the talk, so we are here today. Okay, so I'm trying to figure the context of the discussion. So it's good to have like an additional FOSS project being interested in that, right?
Yeah. We did do I guess a brainstorming session around personas. I mean, we do have a list of those. sure Georg has the link handier than I do. But I anticipate that as projects come in, they'll find that maybe some of the personas that we discussed, say between GNOME and KDE, might not apply, but then also, they might find that they have personas within their projects that don't fit into what we've brainstormed. So it'd be interesting to kind of review that from that perspective.
That's a good idea. Let's review that. So I shared in the chat this document that we're working on. You also find the link always at the top of the meeting minutes.
Oh, it's right there. It's right in front of my face.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Having everything readily available. You just need to know where to look. So what we did is we brainstormed different personas and what goals they have. And so the overview here really is in the index. So we have the promotion communications team persona, the financial team persona, community managers, release managers, coordinators across projects, event activity organizers. So if we look at these personas, does this resonate with how Drupal is thinking about the community? Do you have additional personas?
I think that those align. I'm curious to hear what Marco thinks as well. But I think that these align pretty accurately with what we do at Drupal. Something about the Drupal project is that it is organized with the project lead being what it's called, and I hope I get this right, because otherwise it's going to sound awful. It's called the benevolent dictator for life. And so I guess that would be an important persona, but maybe that's implied in the process. So I don't know if it would need to be stated like explicitly there.
So what I'm thinking here is that Drupal seems to be similar to the GNOME and KDE ecosystem in the sense that there is many different modules, many sub-projects that are being developed that have their own kind of maintainers. And then when it comes to a benevolent dictator for life, I think this is someone who is a coordinator across projects, who has that perspective for here's the strategy I want for all of Drupal. And I assume we're talking about Dries here, right?
Yes. When I read that line, I thought more of initiative leaders because like we have like that sub hierarchy in there. But you're right; it totally fits there.
Awesome. Hey Shri, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, sorry, a BOF ran over, or rather, I forgot what the time was, and I ran. It was in the middle of a discussion. Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah. So to get you into the fold, we're reviewing the work we have done with our friends at Drupal to see if this aligns with how they see the world, and then moving forward to see if there's connection points and how the work can benefit from each other's point of view.
Great, thank you.
So Marco, did you have any thoughts on the personas?
Yeah, so sorry, I lost my audio for some reason, so I rejoined it. So Yeah, I think we have like most of them. We may not have financial team, and we have a slightly different roles. We have mentors, but only on some events, and we have this idea of module maintainer, which is most of the people that contribute work in Drupal.org are, I think, either maintainers of modules for Drupal, or they are contributors that just push add patches to the ACQ. But yeah, we have release managers too, and for Drupal core especially, which is the main project, of course, in the site.
So, okay, module maintainers. Again, in my mind, to keep it simple, module maintainers could fit under release managers, or just as someone who coordinates across projects, because they still need to align their work with the main project.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if we're okay with moving forward with these personas, then let's take a look at the goals. So we did an exercise where we said, okay, as you know, an ecosystem of many projects or modules or whatever you want to call them, there are several goals for what we want to achieve. Like we want to understand the effectiveness of mentorship and onboarding. We want to understand the whole of the app ecosystem or Drupal ecosystem and the individual components. And we need to be able to drill down into the project level. We want to understand the size of the overall community, because that matters to companies, to funders. We want to retain contributors. We want to know the health of the community. We want to understand company contributions, dependencies. We want to understand the skills in our project. Diversity and inclusion is an important part. Financial health, the performance, business risk. We want to make it easy for companies to choose our project software as a dependency. We want to make sure community develops into a direction that it's set for itself, so that we're actually advancing. We want to identify entry points for new contributors, help them onboard, and understand the contribution levels in our community, and then also understand the marketing awareness around our community. So I know this is a lot, 17 goals. We spent probably 3 weeks coming up with this list and consolidating ideas and everything. Just going through this, is there anything that resonates with you, or something where you're thinking in the back of your mind, something is missing? Or does this perfectly align with how you see the Drupal community and the goals you have, and we can move forward? Because the goal is, our goal is to go through the goal question metric approach and identify what are the metrics we can use to measure our community and help advance towards all of those goals.
Yeah, they really cover a lot, so I think we can totally like match our goals there. So I think that they are really thoroughly documented. So that's great.
Awesome. Well, that's great feedback. I mean, we have these sessions where we go through the work we've already done to see if it resonates with other people. And so your feedback is really valuable to us. So I really appreciate you taking the time to look into this with us. Moving forward, what we then did is we matched the goals to the personas. And so you'll see here for coordinators across project, we thought they might have the goal to understand the whole of the app ecosystem in individual components, or want to understand the size of the community. They want to retain contributors, and all of these goals. And then the next step, so we did this for all of the personas. You can see this here. I'm just zooming back and forth. And then we said, okay, let's dive in. And we just decided to start with event activity organizers. If this is not one you're interested in, we can also do the same thing for any of the other personas. But we said, okay, event activity organizers want to help the community retain contributors. And so there are several questions, like how long do we need people who attend events? How long do new people who attend events stay in the community? And so we came up with 3 metrics. One is the length of time attendees membership, the time since first contribution for event attendees, and the time since event to the last contribution. So after an event, how much longer were event attendees contributing to our project? And then for each metric, we identified where would we get this kind of data? Where would we collect it from? And that's where we left off 2 weeks ago. This is where we are right now. And if we wanted to continue the work, we would continue with number 6 here. This is where we haven't talked about the metrics and data yet, moving down. So with that, you are fully up to speed, but if you have any questions, please jump in.
I think that the process that you're following, it's great, and these metrics I think are great, and then I can see how this can map directly on the credit system that we have on Ditto. Is just on Drupal.org. It's just about exposing that on the right places. But yeah, I think we are already collecting most of this data, but it's great to have this overview of what we would like to be doing on why and for which personas. So yeah, it's a great framework to think on how to think about this.
Awesome. That sounds great. I'm gonna leave it up. Anyone else, please chime in.
This method is so it's really effective in the sense that we're driving metrics towards solving questions, which is something I really enjoy, versus just focusing on metrics and then trying to extract something out of it, right? So this is a much more sane way of trying to measure community health.
Okay, so I think Marco and Matteo, just if you continue working with us, having your Drupal experience be part of that conversation will be very helpful, and we can learn things from your perspective, and you can learn things from our perspective. So if no one else has any other comments, I would propose that we jump back into the work and actually get some work done.
I'm all for that.
All right. So if you could go to this document, I'll post it again in the chat. We are on number 6. How many people return to our events? That's a question. And so a metric we have here is recurring participation in events. So reading this, I'm not entirely sure what the metric actually is. This is, I don't remember who wrote this. And I know not everyone who was here last time is here.
So one question I would have is maybe the idea behind the event or activity. Can we have some examples of that?
Are you asking about
Are you
the
thinking maybe?
description?
Yeah, so maybe are we thinking this in, for instance, an event would be WADEC or an activity maybe like a commit inside a given subproject? Or how are we thinking about this general idea of event activity?
I think we kind of had a little bit of a discussion about that before, about the difference between the metrics, and we can ask this of any of our kind of event-centric metrics, you know, the difference between asking them of your large events like GUADEC or Academy versus your Hackfests. And I think that's, you know, we're providing the toolbox and people can choose which things they apply the tools to. Personally, I don't think there's a lot of value in retention, looking at retention for Hackfests. But I do think there's value in looking at retention for major events. It's always interesting. I don't know what to do at Academy, but at GUADEC every year, somewhere in there, like somebody's like, how many people, is this your first time? And people raise their hand. And it's always like exciting to see first timers, because that means you're getting new people into your community. But at the same time, like, you don't want it to be everybody raising their hands because you also want retention, right? So I don't know what that magic number is of what you would prefer to be, you know, how many new people versus how many veterans, but
Yeah, that would seem to imply a high turnover.
right.
That's
Right.
I guess the usual is that you have some people that have been around for 20 years, you have some people who have been around for 20 days, and most of the people are somewhere in between, right? Like been around for, I don't know, 2 to 5 to 6 years maybe. And to me, that will show actually healthy community, because there are people that come and go and the community remains and grows without things going well. So yeah, I guess the metric there is the number of people that are the same in a series of events, let's say.
Yeah, I think a number of people who have attended previous events, we can get this from a registration survey. Just ask, have you attended this event before? Or if we have the registration data from before, then we can also look at the data. And then what I think, Sean, you mentioned this, is the ratio of returning and new. participants. So turnover.
Yeah. And I suppose, yeah. Because it can give you an idea of turnover, although if the total number of attendees is growing, then maybe a higher ratio is desirable, right? Because it doesn't indicate a turnover, it indicates growth.
Yes, so a question we have is, what is the turnover at our event? And so we need two metrics here. One is ratio of returning and new participants. And one is the number of events over time. Because as you said, if event is growing, then larger number of new participants is good. I'll just leave this as a note in here. And everyone, we're doing this together. We're totally making this up as we go based on our experience. Feel free to chime in if you have any thoughts on this. The next question we have is, how many people started contributing at one of our events? And let's see if we can get a metric for this. Ask in a post-conference survey, or maybe ask BOFs to record newcomers. So the metric is number of people who contributed for the first time during an event. We can ask this, or ask BOFs to record newcomers. Or we can ask in a survey how someone made first contributions. So that's good. Let's see, how many attendees are also contributors to the project? I feel like we had this before.
Or there's something in 3A, number of contribution of attendees. I don't know if that overlaps a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, let's move this one up so that they're close together. Armstrong joined. Welcome, Armstrong.
Hello, Gerd. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Armstrong. I hear you.
Okay, so if you want to know how many attendees are also contributors to the project, then we can get the number of attendees who contributed to the project before the event. We can get this by either asking on the registration form, or we can cross-reference the list of attendees with project contributors. Excellent. And then last one, how many attendees are attending for the first time? I feel like we had this here, how many people returned to our event? Turnover. It's a very related question. I'm just going to copy this over to get number of people who have not attended previous events. Okay. I feel like retain contributors, we have a good set of questions, metrics. We have identified where to get potentially data from. Any thoughts on the questions, metrics, and data? Any thoughts on the process of what we're doing? Then I will just take that as we are ready to continue with the next goal. One of our goals as an event or activity organizer is to understand company contributions. And so a question we might have is, how many event attendees come from companies versus volunteer contributors? And the metric is organizational affiliation of event attendees. Armstrong, yes. Here, I'll share the link with you. Organization affiliation, that's not really a metric.
Yeah, it's a number of attendees. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
And we can ask them on the event registration form for this data. I mean, we can ask them, we can also apply it from like who paid for their ticket. Did they pay it or did a company pay for it?
Not sure we always know though.
Yeah.
I think some other kind of events activity can happen where people are recognized by certain activities and are giving free registration. For example, I know communities like OpenStack, when you participate within the activities like you are active contributor, you are given a certain discount, either fully or partially. So certain times organization can also use that to motivate contributions and things like that for events. So when they usually take that into consideration when organizing events as well. Also, like in Linux Foundation, if you're a student, you have a reduction in your registration. Certain academic or practitioners, you have different kinds of event, like the way they organize events and how people get in registration.
So is that an argument to remove this who paid for the ticket because we just don't know?
I don't think you can reliably know who paid for the ticket. I mean, if I pay for the ticket with my work credit card, you don't have like a credit card database to look that up against to know it's my work versus my, you know, personal credit card, right? Or is there, maybe there's an identifier. I don't know. How do I know? I mean, if it's just being paid for with a credit card, you don't know how people are expensing it. And you also can't really tell from email addresses. I mean, you know, obviously, if you do get anyone with, say, an @redhat.com email address, that's safe to assume that person is a Red Hatter, but many of us don't use, you know, I would probably register for an event with my @gnome.org address, not my Red Hat. So I don't think you can know without asking.
Yeah, and something else that maybe it's important to think here is that the sometimes you have partial contributions from the company. So, for instance, they may pay for the ticket, but not for the flight and the uh, and, and and the accommodation, and or any variation of those three things. So since this is a flag true or false, if the organization is paying, maybe it would be a bit more general if is the company helping you in some way to get into the event, maybe a good way to phrase it.
Do you
Yeah,
want to?
I can't think of any way we can track this either. So I guess asking is the only way to know.
Did you have a specific way you wanted to ask Marco? Then maybe you can write this in the document. That's why we use a Google Doc, so everyone can edit at the same time. And we sometimes have mad editing sessions. They're a lot of fun.
I don't know if that is because Marco and I share the same background, but I was thinking on the same lines. I get support to go to events from my personal bank account, from my employer. Sometimes I even get support from the client I'm on because they give me extra time off, and it would be nice to recognize those as well. So maybe the question would be, what are the organizations that are supporting you in this event, including volunteer or self-funded or whatever?
Yeah, good question. I like this. Is your company, or is a company sponsoring in some way, for example, flights, accommodation, ticket, time off, your attendance? And then maybe you can have a question on about which company would you like to recognize for?
Occasionally, some events, particularly community events, will have a like two different payment levels of like hobbyists pay this, minimal amount, and is your employer sending you, please pay this bigger amount? And it's totally like, it's kind of on the honor system, but it might be something to cross correlate with, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. Prone to error is, we don't need that. All data is prone to error. Then we have a question about what companies are attending our event. This is similar to what, Matteo, you were saying here with which company would you like to recognize for supporting your attendance? So list of organizations attendees affiliate with. And we can get this from the registration form.
I'm thinking if this is a metric that could also relate to I don't know, having official sponsors in or giving official talks, like attending in a more official, let's say, way. That would differentiate it from the previous question.
So is this a question of what companies are represented in talks across the event?
Yeah, or maybe they have a booth, or maybe, I mean, they are involved in some way in the event other than just sending employees. That's what's my thinking.
Okay, so we are almost out of time, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We always like to end 10 minutes before the top of the hour, so you all get to have a little break before our next meeting start. This is, I do want to finish this real quick. So list of companies. I don't know how to collect this, but ask the organizers.
That should be the most reliable option.
Yep. And then I'll make a note here that
And Georg, that will also be helpful for us to capture corporate diversity. That is an important metric.
absolutely. I think this is one of the metrics that go into corporate diversity. Anything else on your mind before we adjourn? One thing I just want to plant a seed in your head is about what we want to do with this. We're almost done with the event activities organizers. How do we want to share this out? How do we want to get feedback? We've talked about possibly creating a blog post, or we can record a video, or we can do a variety of different things.
I was going to ask about this also. I was hoping maybe this can be a wiki that can be edited later, maybe a GitHub repository with this information for all of the cases, and start with this one. Maybe a good way to iterate over this on time, or maybe this is too specific to iterate, and maybe a blog post would be better in that case.
So I think that's a good point. We do have a GitHub repository where we can store this and then work on it over time. And then the blog post could be a way to share it out and let other people know about this work. So anyway, I just want to plant that seed. We don't have to decide it right now. Thank you very much for attending today. The next time we meet will be in August, and it will be August 10, I believe. So until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you for attending.
Thank you.
That's good. Thank you very much. And welcome, Marco and everyone. every day.
Yeah. Hope to see you all again.
Yep,
Bye,
thank you very
everyone.
much also. Bye.
Bye. Okay, Matthew. Your